Welcome to Gerd a load of this.
We have a title.
Woohoo!
And what did we
I
read?
have
We read Macbeth, Lady Macbeth this
Lady
week by
Macbeth.
Ava Reid, a dark gothic retelling of Shakespeare's Macbeth.
My first peep into the Ava Reid world. I
Same.
know of a few of her titles, and I'm excited to dive deeper into like what she has to offer because I did enjoy it. I ended up giving it a, even though I'm gonna say that, I did end up giving it only 3.5 stars.
Okay.
I really, I haven't read Macbeth, truth be told, and
I haven't either.
I don't feel like I will. But I know of the premise, so I can't say that like I didn't know anything about it going into it. I knew what it was about. Just like the retelling part of it. I in my review of it on Fable, I said a pleasantly unpleasant read. Because it really was like
I mean, it was supposed to be unpleasant.
Yeah, I
It's
just
dark.
liked how I don't know, just like lyrically graphic it was.
It was graphic.
But not even like gory, I guess.
There was like one
there
or
was
two.
some gore, yeah. I think that I don't know. I think that are we gonna call her Rossiel? I don't know how to say it. I'm gonna go with Rossiel because I'm part French.
Lady Macbeth, aka Rossiel.
Rossiel. I think that her, I don't know. Hold on, let me just freaking get my thoughts together. When I hadn't read this book and I was on TikTok getting reviews for it, there was a lot of talk about it being like sexist, and there's like really, dark themes that like people shouldn't read. Like it was just really, the ones that I saw, it was not well received because of these like norms of that time were really heavily discussed, and it wasn't in a it wasn't in a progressive lane. It was very much like, this is just how my life is and it freaking sucks. It wasn't like I will, beat the patriarchy and I'm gonna
right.
It really wasn't. It was like, this is my life. I am a woman. Take a shot every single time she says I am a woman. But it really just was like, okay, this is, Ava Reid did a very good job of putting us back in that time and making us feel as helpless as Rasil does feel.
Correct.
Going into the situation.
Honestly, though, I do think that this retelling does give Lady Macbeth more power.
Yes.
Than was given in the original. Like, I think, like, it is a sexist, it is a disturbing tale story time, and I think that this retelling gave her power. So I would disagree with a lot of the complaints, because like it's a retelling.
Yeah,
that's what it is. It's going to be dark and
it's going to be sexist.
Have
those like misogynistic, like wifely duties situation. Like it's gonna have those. I think that it was the right way for Ava to go about that.
Yeah.
And not kind of lean into the world as we know it now, where automatically she just has power because she's a woman. Like we did have to watch her like struggle with being told that she is just like, her dad literally says, you are the creature I made you. So she really does have to fight with that, but then she comes into her own in the end. And I really appreciated the way that she was written. I love her inner dialogue. I felt like it was so melodramatic, but for the right reasons. It was like, okay, girl, that's a little like, it's a little too much, but at the same time you're like, oh no, actually I think I would react the same way. Like I felt she was very relatable, even though I've never been
in that situation.
The situations she's ever been. I was like, no, I would be the same way. Thank you.
There were so many times where I just like stopped reading after a sentence and like just
Yes.
looked around, looked left, looked right. Like, did she just say that?
Yes, I have a favorite quote from it. I really didn't take too many physical notes at all, actually, because this is, spoiler alert, one of my first physical book reads in way too long since I
Same.
got back into reading. But I do have this I do have this quote. It's Rasil will never stop marveling at the stupidness of men when their worlds are disrupted.
I think I highlighted that too. I think I took a picture.
I love it so much. It just like it made me roll my eyes. Like what they were talking about made me roll my eyes just as much as I imagined she would be. And she can roll her eyes behind that veil because nobody can see her. So I feel like that would be me. I'd just be like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry that your world's falling apart. You're so dumb. The female rage was like definitely felt
And it
in
was a
this.
different kind of female rage, right? Like
Yeah.
it was just very because it was a different world. She wasn't really able to express the rage in a lot of more
Yeah.
popular stories right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I also never read Macbeth, never studied it, didn't know any of the premise of Macbeth at all whatsoever. So I did a quick Google, because I did want to see the differences. There was some like Easter eggs too, which I thought was kind of fun. This is just Shakespeare.org, some like little bullet points from the paragraphs they provided. Um, so we have three witches that Mr. Macbeth and Banquo find somewhere, and the witches tell him he's gonna be king and Banquo's descendants are gonna rule sometime, and they disappear. And then the king randomly promotes Mr. Macbeth to the Thane because of his prior work history. He'd had some good stuff going. He's like, yeah, you're just gonna be Thane now. Mrs. Macbeth, Lady Macbeth, is mentioned for the first time and just says, yeah, cool prophecy, I'll support you no matter what. The king comes to visit and they plan to kill him so that he can take the crown. Lady Macbeth drugs the guards so that they can make their move on the king. She reassures him this is a good plan. They kill the king. And the king's sons flee, blamed for the murder. He becomes king right then and there. Kills Banquo and his sons. Goes looking for the witches because we don't know where they were. And they tell him not to fear anyone who comes from a woman, which I thought was weird. Turns out an army comes up and someone born of not surrogacy, severe C-section, whatever, and kills him. And
That's
Lady Macbeth
so
commits
random.
suicide.
Mood.
And so she's only mentioned in this summary as supporting him, reassuring him, and committing suicide when he perishes.
Got it.
And that's Shakespeare.org. That's not like a different article or anything. So that's how they describe her. And I was like, okay. And in this retelling, she has power? Question mark?
Witchery.
She has, there's like witches. She has witchery powers, and so is already stronger, and on the outside and a little bit on the inside is supporting him just because she's been molded to be a good wife. But the rage kind of does build up, and then she has a lot of ulterior motives. Banquo is present, but he's just the right-hand man, and he's not mentioned in the prophecy originally, which I thought was interesting.
I liked that flow.
Yeah.
It felt way more. I mean, it really, to me leans into like the fairy tale aspect of it. There's usually like a do this to this to this to this, and I liked that it wasn't like an automatic like smackdown. Like
Correct. There's a
there
lot of
was
build up
things that need yeah, there was a lot
in
of
like
build up
all
things that needed to
aspects.
like move forward in order for that decision to be made.
Um, and the other uh opposite thing that I noticed was when they're planning to kill the king, Lady Macbeth does not support Macbeth. Macbeth tells her she's going to support him. He says she's the dagger in his hand and he wants her to kill the king because no one would suspect a woman.
He
So
actually has her do a lot of stuff.
yeah,
Like
he does. He's kind
the
of
letter
lazy.
about is it Cowder's treachery
Yes.
and the obviously the schmurder of the king, and yeah, he pretty much is just like you're going to do this because I told you so. And she's like, "Oh, well, I mean my dad already taught me how to be this way, so I guess
But
that
honestly,
just makes sense."
I think it gave her power and confidence because she was just like planning to kind of sit there, maybe build up over time some ulterior motives, and he's like, "No, actually go use your powers, go see how they work." And then she was like, "Oh
Yeah.
yeah, this is cool. I can do
She's like,
this."
actually, I do have this. I like that they gave her this, like, I don't even know if there's a word to describe it, but it's like, I would say that it would like chalk up to cleverness, but it's almost like an esteem issue with cleverness. Like, she knows she's clever, but people in this book usually find out her cleverness before she really realizes that that was a clever move on her. But then she's also so quick-witted. So it's such a like reading her was such a I wouldn't say like a roller coaster as it was like not true to her character,
It
but
was
it was like a
keeping
roller
us on
coaster
the edge of
because
our seat.
I was like, "Oh, okay, so she didn't know she meant to do that. Oh, she actually meant to do that." Like yeah, keeping her intentions a secret from even the reader, I think
Yeah.
was really nice. It was a nice aspect, and I appreciated it because you didn't really know if she was like, "Oh, I'm just a girl. Like I'm just gonna like, twirl my hair," and then all of a sudden she's committing like triple homicide. So it was very nice to like to see this kind of I don't know. It was just like an amalgamation of like, oh, I'm tiny, I'm little, but at the same time, like I am working, like the cogs they're turning, and I'm gonna bring my vengeance onto you in any way that I can. And she works in circles. Oh my gosh, I love that. Like she works everyone in a circle. She's like, oh, it's gonna come back on you, and it does.
And I mean,
It's
she
like
does
insane.
remind us of her cleverness a lot. Like she mentions
Yeah.
how she would know everyone's name. She was like good at this and that when she lived back at home. Um so yeah, I feel like it shouldn't have been a surprise, but then like you said, we're constantly reminded she's just a woman. She shouldn't be smart. Like she is kind of docile at first. So it's there. It's not I would say it's therefore not out of character, but then like we forget and we're
Yeah.
reminded.
Yes, for sure.
I
I don't know. I really liked I really liked reading her. I was a lot more hesitant about like the I would say like 60% mark is kind of where it started to like fall off for me.
Really? I thought the first 30%, the first third of the book was a little. I don't know. I don't know if it was slow or I just. I don't want to complain and say it was whatever because it is what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But she goes to this new world. She's trying to fit in and deal with how, quote, barbaric it seems,
Mhm.
how sexist it is, and there just wasn't a lot going on, which I think is where it fell flat for me. I was like, okay, like, where are we
This is
going
my
with
favorite part of
this?
a book.
And I was like, where are we going with this? Like, where's the intrigue gonna come in? Is she like? I need her to make a move. Um, and immediately following that point was when the king and his sons come in, and I wasn't sure where that was gonna go because she is like giving googly eyes to one of the prince's sons, one of the king's sons, the
Mm-hmm.
prince Lysander. I was like,
Love the name,
okay,
by the way.
okay, we're going
Good, great
somewhere.
name.
Also mentioned immediately how smart he is, and he's on to them and their deceitful letter. And the first one-on-one we get, she goes to the parapet contemplating maybe killing herself, which was kind of an Easter egg to the original Macbeth, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
And tells her if Macbeth ever lays hands on her, tell him and he'll take care of it. He'll risk basically anything for her. And I was like, okay, that's where this is going. And I was intrigued. I was back on board.
Okay, this is where okay, I wouldn't say that the story like falls short or like I wasn't interested, but this is where I kind of was like, I don't know how this is like all gonna tie in. So like
That's almost
my
more
biggest
exciting. Did you want
gripe.
to know how it was going to end?
No, no, no. I'm just saying like I didn't understand or it was I don't know. As far as like a fairy tale
Yeah.
retelling, it was so random. Okay, because like you run your way up through this book knowing that she either does or doesn't have witchy powers, right? She keeps on saying like
Yeah.
I don't know if I was
I
told
still don't really,
or
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know if I had them. Right. She's good at ensconcing men and making them do her will by looking into her eyes. That's like the whole thing. Is like her eyes are these like weird white bluish like glossy situation, okay? That's where we get set up. Her dad um basically was like you have to like hide your eyes because you're going to freaking just mesmerize
Seduce.
and yeah, you're going to seduce men, whatever. Women. Um so she's told
Well,
her
that's
entire
why.
life
So
that
I
she
underestimate because of that. I
yeah,
underestimate. I was like,
exactly. And
she's not a
I
witch.
love
She's
that.
just a
I
woman.
love that because we're like being gaslit through her
Yeah.
gaslighting. Like she's being gaslit, we're being gaslit. So, I I understood that when that witchery actually came into play, that it was witchery, okay? And I was like, "Oh, I love this." And I'm always for like a three hag moment telling prophecies. Give it to me. I love it. Um but the thing that did not make sense to me, which dragon slander coming up soon, was the fact that Lysander, spoilers, is a beast. And like I don't understand. I know he gave like that really nice story about the mom and the this and the curse and the this. Like I think that it was a nice backstory or like good folklore, but to me, it didn't. I don't know. It was kind of a clunky tie-in as far as like going from like hags and witchery to straight to dragons. Like I understand that
Yeah,
fantasy
but they're
is kind of
cursed
like
by
oh
witches,
yeah,
so it's
but
not like
I don't know if like I was expecting a dragon
you're
when
not
he's
supposed to expect it.
exactly, and it was a
And
surprise.
it's
But so
poetic because they're
I
both
was
monsters.
yeah, I did enjoy the element, but I just was like I don't. It was thrown so quickly into the end of the book that I was like, I don't know if this is not believable, but I don't know if I'm like
I
I
mean,
also have a hard time with love at first
it,
sight
it
tropes, but
kind of it kind of
it
built
resolves
up
itself.
to it. It kind of
Don't
built up to
yeah.
his thing though, because right when we meet him, his dad is telling them that he needs a room without windows. It's like something's up there.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's
Yeah, I
it's
know.
it's kind
It's
of
interesting
danced
because
around.
you're like I don't know. I guess the thing that the pacing of it was like okay, you're told for like half of the book or even more than that that this witchery may not be witchery, and then it becomes witchery, and I'm like okay, great. I can like settle in on this.
And
And
then
then all of a sudden it's
immediately
like dragon.
shifter.
Shifter. So I yeah, like I enjoyed the lyricism behind their relationship, and like I I'm not usually a fan of like love at first sight or like, like full on, but I do understand that he was kind of that like guy that everybody is wanting, like somebody to stick up for somebody who's getting like like abused and just like used
Yeah.
literally.
Sees
Like
her as an equal, or at
yes,
least
sees her as an equal,
appreciates her.
is just as clever and smart as she is, and is
Right.
not like compelled by her powers, which I thought was very nice. That it was
Yeah.
like he is just as strong, and like his whole thing about like don't worry, like if they hurt me, like I won't feel it. I'm not the same as other men. Like I like that
Yeah.
aspect of it a lot. I was just really jarred by the dragon.
I
So
will
maybe it's a
say,
good thing. And then I was like, I don't know.
I will
But
say, I did not, I did not like or think it was realistic. Um, was it she finally, Mr. Macbeth finally cashes in on his wife,
yep.
uh, rapes her,
Hmm.
and in the morning she sneaks out. She needs some fresh air. She takes a bath in this oasis somewhere in the woods. Lo and behold, Lysander comes in, and then they have sex. Like literally sentences before, she's
Yeah.
talking about how it hurts down there and how it's like 'cause she just got raped, and she's like, "Oh yeah, but like this is fine."
She literally says, I don't have the book in front of me, but she says something like, please undo what has been done. And I think that's it might be a disservice to people who have been in that situation. I did not find it to be romantic
I
at
did not
all. I
either,
was
and I
like,
really I was rooting for. I still really
okay.
like them. I didn't like that because
Yeah,
that
I
just
didn't like that
feels
at all.
forced. Question mark. Like I
Well,
feel
and
like if
it was
that
like,
scene happened, like honestly, I would have thought it was way more romantic if he just like held her and comforted
yeah.
her after
And he
this
was like,
traumatic
no,
experience.
no, no, no.
Even if they
Because
were
he
just
should have,
like naked in the water holding each other,
yeah,
and they could have had
yeah.
this other scene
That's kind
later.
of where it really, and then when you take into account that she is 17, and I
Yeah.
know that he's not that much older, if at all, like I don't know. It was just, that's where it really like, that moment, that would be my biggest gripe, is like,
I would agree.
it was just for how much of a gentleman, and I don't even know, because she asked him, I
It
don't know,
felt
there's like,
forced.
it felt forced. He's a gentleman. He was already so adamant about protecting her against her abusive husband. Her husband cashes in on his marital right, quote
Yep.
unquote, because that's what we'd be
Yep.
calling it in this book. And then she's like, you need to do me so I can get rid of what was done. But then he continue, like, so that happens, and then she continues to be assaulted after that. So I don't think that it needed to happen. I don't think that like we needed to know they were in love by them like being together like that. Like you said, it would have been way more romantic if he was like, you're not in a good place. I'm just gonna hold you until I turn back into the creature that I am. I don't know. That was, it really felt really weird, and I was like, ugh, no, no, please. And then the rest of the book is good. I guess it was just like, I don't even know what chapter that is. Probably like 10. I would say 10 to 12 really were not my favorite at all. And then the
I mean
last
that's
couple,
where it got dark, no? Like
it
there's
got dark,
some
but it was
dark
dark.
stuff that happened that was like I don't like that, but
It
it's a
was
dark story.
trajectory. Correct. This, I think, really fell short for me because it was unnecessary to the characters and to the plot of the story,
Well,
in my mind. But I don't know if we were supposed to feel like way more connected to them, or that their love was more believable. But I just feel like you can't be a gentleman and then turn right around and stick it in. You know what I mean? I don't know, it felt really
well,
weird to
okay.
me.
When I cuz okay, so beginning of this book, I didn't know Macbeth. Looked into it later when I was losing momentum reading. But in the beginning, I was like, okay, maybe we don't hate Macbeth, right? Maybe we don't hate him. Maybe it's a retelling. Maybe, like, he's not a bad guy. He didn't do anything inherently bad to start off with.
No, he was kind of
He
a nicer
he
than what I
was
expected.
gentlemanly. Like, he was respecting the gifting tradition and not just like, nope, you're my wife now, you're gonna listen to me.
Hmm.
She suggested something at the war council table, and he actually did it. Like, he said, screw you men, and you're laughing. Like, it's a solid idea, I can admit that. um but then, yeah, that did escalate pretty quickly, so I was like, okay, guess not.
Which I think is based on like how much she's going through in the beginning of the book. It was kind of nice to not have her be like,
Yeah,
really thrown in the mud like right away, and it really lent itself to the lore building
correct.
of, like his dealings with the witches and like his apparent sudden grab for power. She knew that Cowder was an enemy and Macduff were enemies. And she was like, well, I know. Like, she's clever enough and she's that much in tune with her father's court that she knew by asking for rubies that she would possibly send him to his death to kind of like get out of it, which I really appreciated. And then she was like, "Oops, who me?" And then she was like, oh shit. What if what if I send him there and he doesn't die, or then he does die and then I have to be, mistress of this next like entity. So, I thought like that element of him trusting her and like and doing that was not like it wasn't like Tamlin, but it also wasn't Rhysand. So like I was like, oh, okay, that's nice. He's not like a actual
And I
barbarian.
think it did help build the trajectory, because he is not terrible, so she's okay with her situation,
Mm-hmm.
and he gives her some leeway, and she takes it and gets some confidence, and like, oh, I can be a little more clever, and like, I have this window open for me and this door open for me. And so, and then as he was starting to get mean and dark, she had this, all the windows and doors are already open, and she's like, okay, I can do this now. Like we said,
Yeah.
she was a little hesitant on her abilities because she'd been hidden away, and he basically showed her how to use her abilities, and then she
Right.
used them against him in
She
the
was like,
end.
oh,
So it was
okay.
like, okay, kind
Yeah,
of created her as well.
exactly. He like helped
Exactly.
actually, like, I don't know. Because again, it was like in the beginning of this book, it's just like women stupid.
And I think
Women
that's where
stupid
I think that's where a lot
only
of people
only
don't
can beguile.
don't keep
That's it.
going, and they're like, this book's sexist.
Yeah, which I understand because you don't
It is
want to read
sexist.
300
It's
or
historical.
295 pages of like beating down on women and like misogyny, but it is a historical retelling. So it's not necessarily like
And in the end, she wins. So, like,
she does, but in such a like I don't even know. It's such a revenge type way. It's not like a
what's wrong with
like,
that?
come on, girls. Like it's really much like this was for me
As it should
because of what
be.
I've exactly like what I've gone through. This is for me. She's not changing. She wasn't changing the world, but she did change hers. And I liked that. I liked the ending a lot. And I like the little twisty of like having all the wives.
All of the previous Lady Macbeths were witches, and the witches are all previous Lady Macbeths. I thought that was very interesting. And what, one of the first Lady Macbeths killed a bunch of people with poison. So I thought that was
Yes.
an Easter egg as well to the original. I thought that was fun.
Yeah, she killed like her entire family or his entire family.
Exactly.
Something.
Well,
And
she
because
was
he was,
blamed for it, so we don't actually know if it was him or
that's
not,
true.
but
I like that she has this like retelling, but we still don't have all the answers.
it's very, yeah. And I mean, I knew it was a looser retelling, but I mean, it was still a strong retelling just
Mm-hmm.
from her POV and then seeing the twists behind it. Like one of the last prophecies or the last prophecy we get is that Banquo is it's like the original prophecy from Macbeth that Banquo's descendants will rule, and then Macbeth in rewind, Lady Macbeth has the witches tell them this false prophecy
Yes.
to get them to turn on each other. So that could be accurate to the original Macbeth, but you're just not having her POV, so like you wouldn't know. But I thought
Mm-hmm.
that was fun.
Yeah, I liked that cleverness a lot. I liked the darkness of her kind of being like, I need to, like, I'm just gonna stay here. What am I gonna do? Laundry? Like, become a witch and stuff. Like, I like the idea that they were like, well, guess what? We've all been trying to get out, so why don't we just try this one
Together.
time together? And then she ends up having like the power of all the Macbeths. And I love how her name changes because her identity changes throughout the
Right,
entire book
right.
of like, this is who I am now. And then she ends up being like very proud of her struggle and like what she essentially had to like overcome and freaking put everybody else in the grave for because of how how she was treated. So she's like, well, I'm going to take this name because that's the name that I was given and I'm going to make it fit.
Yeah, I mean her dad molded her.
Mhm.
Macbeth molded her, and then she kind of exploded out of her own shell because of all that pressure. But
Yes.
it was still because of their molding that she is the way she is.
Yeah, I was really, I don't know. I was, like I said, I was pleasantly surprised. There was some misses for me. I wouldn't say that it was like I would reread it, but I wouldn't shy
Yeah,
away from recommending it to
I
anybody.
agree.
It just you have to be able to like handle the annoyingness of um pedestaled misogyny and then also, just like how dark it was, but I liked that we did not shy away from themes. There was a couple of like fade to black situations, so it wasn't so graphic in that
Yeah,
sense
yeah,
of like things that may be
for sure.
a more like darker situation, but
It's not
it was very well
overly
written.
dark.
Correct, but it was
It's
it
not
was
overly.
like
It's
what
not
you would
forced.
expect. It was giving Game of Thrones. So it was like, okay, this is a horrible thing for this person to go through, and then we have to read about their thoughts afterwards.
But it's
So
imperative to their development.
correct.
So it's not unnecessary darkness,
Hmm.
right? Like it was there for a reason. It wasn't just to
It
check the
wasn't just
box of being
gruesome,
dark.
right? It wasn't just gruesome to be gruesome. It had purpose, and it created trajectory. So I don't know. Overall, I would say that I really enjoyed it. I disagree with a lot of like the worst, the like you obviously only got 5 chapters in DNF kind of situation.
Yeah.
I feel like if you can get to act, I don't even know how many acts there are, but if you could get to act 3, there might be 4 or 5. If you can get to like act 2 or 3, you'll pretty much sail through the rest of the book
And like you
because
can't be
it
mad. It
will.
was a shorter book for being like a
Oh
fantasy
yeah.
book. So like I I don't know. It was a enjoyable good time. Like I would much
Mhm.
rather read this than Macbeth.
I don't think that like my dyslexia could even handle reading Macbeth. It would not bode well for me. But I like the story. I like the idea of like um courts kind of like turning in on each other just because
Yeah.
they wanted to be the highest in the land.
I did like that despite being sexist, misogynistic, whatever, that she does get to kill him in the end. Um,
Mhm.
you know, because the prophecy states no man born of woman. You don't have to fear a man born of woman. Like, she's a woman born of woman, so she's
Yes.
overlooked. And
Yep. It was very
really,
much like,
he should have seen
I
that
know Lord of the
coming.
Rings, like Eowyn just really like, I am no man. I know
Yeah.
you don't know that reference, but
But I liked
basically.
it. Just really showed how much more clever she was than Macbeth, because he was the one who said, "You're gonna kill the king because no one would suspect a woman,"
Right.
and ultimately that's what killed him.
I love it.
Was that he wrote off the woman killing him.
And she like basically vanquished everyone who did her dirty, except for her dad, I guess. We don't really know
Yeah,
what
it
happens
did
after
end
that.
abruptly, in my opinion. But
I
like,
agree.
as far as just a Macbeth retelling goes, that's kind of where the story just naturally ends.
Ends
Is his
anyway,
death?
right?
So
Well, and she got like she did get like her little happily ever after situation. Like they're gonna figure that out, so it's fine. Like it needed
no,
whatever
I'm
happened
not
needed to
worried
happen.
about her. I'm sure she'll have a good time. They're
Yeah,
gonna
I'm sure
go
she'll be a lot
have
better.
so. Oh, it does say that they go off to rule together. Hopefully, maybe end some of the sexism. Maybe.
It seems like Lysander would be a for that. And and they very much like say in the end that the people of his the people under his rule are a-okay with his beastery, so
But
should be fine.
it is interesting though, because her father would probably, because he's clever too. Like, he raised her. He's the one
Yeah.
who spread the rumor that she was cursed by witches rather than being a witch.
Hmm.
So, oh, I don't know what he's gonna be a pain in their side.
But it's so interesting because the thing that was like made me think or like kept in the back of my mind was like I get that he sent her off to Scotland from France to
Mm-hmm.
Scotland, but the entire time that there's like war pending and like all these things, like her, she constantly is like, my dad's gonna come back and take me. Like she constantly says that, but I feel like he really was not. Obviously, he wasn't involved. I wonder how much he knew about like what was going on.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Because you'd think that like I don't know, you'd think that he would have word, but then again, we're talking like snail mail on express because water and stuff between France and Scotland. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, I guess it was because it was, if you're brought up the way you are, would bring up her dad a lot in terms of how she was raised and why she's the way she is. But then it was odd to me when she was bringing him up in terms of like coming to get him and stuff like that. It's like, okay, is he coming back? Like, are we gonna see him again?
Right.
Are we
That's why I
gonna,
was like,
like,
are we
is something
gonna?
else gonna happen? And nothing else ever happened. So it's like, okay, then why do you keep bringing him up?
I guess that she brings him up in order to kind of like keep that gaslighting going of like you're the creature that I made you, like I'm telling you this because like I want you to do my bidding. But she never she wants him to come back and get her so that her life can be normal again. But I don't, it was weird that she talked about that so much because it was like, okay, well, is he going to, like, he's not fighting with the, like he's not fighting with the person who's abusing his daughter. He just gave her to him, but he also probably knows because he is so clever how much history Macbeth has with witchy wives. I'm sure he has some sort of insight on that.
Hmm.
Who knows?
I
But I
was.
mean, it's not bad that it was left open ended. It was just a weird element of being
Yeah,
like, I'm gonna talk
yeah.
about my dad a lot, and then he's not gonna show back up in the story at
Daddy issues, I
all.
guess.
Yeah, probably. She likes to remind herself about that a lot.
I was really mad that that beautiful cloak that he made for her of the freaking
6
unicorn and the
animals.
whatever other beautiful animals were
And
put
the
into
unicorn
this.
is the Scotland state mythical creature. Like, so they had to really go. She also didn't ask for a unicorn, by the way. She just asked for
Well, no,
six
yeah, she
different
said 6, but she
animals.
knew only 5 existed. So
She's so
then,
good at that.
yeah, so then he had to find a sixth, being a unicorn. She thought
Right.
impossible. Um, and she just dropped it in the water, in that basement cave, the
And just
laundry
left
water,
it.
and just
But I
left
mean,
it.
technically, it does give her like
I know, I was just sad.
remembrance. But it was gorgeous, gorgeous cape.
Like we could have dropped
Could
it
have
in the
picked. Could have brought.
laundry water, it turned black, and then she wears it and it's like a whole thing. We
Yeah,
didn't have
yeah.
to like
It's like raven feathers instead of swan feathers.
yeah, it just felt sad.
I know it was. I don't know.
Not
There was
because
a
of the
lot
work
of
he put into it, just like the
no,
animals
but
that
there
went
was a
into it.
lot of like element of
It
that.
was probably really
Same with the
pretty.
necklace. It was like you went through all of this, and then for that to happen,
Oh,
like
and then he said
that's
this would look better if it was tighter on you, and I was like,
oh.
no, thank you.
And then she
Possessive.
like the
That was
entire
that
time
was
she
the
was
ick I
like,
got. I was like, never mind. We're not rooting for Macbeth.
"That's when you got the ick."
I think so. What
I
did
was
he do
always
before that?
I was always skeptical. I don't.
I was skeptical, but I was like,
He's a
okay,
he's a
maybe.
high lord
Okay,
in
and
Scotland. He's a
Lysander's a prince.
okay. I don't know. Freaking Macbeth's like 45 or some shit.
I don't know. I didn't know anything going in. I was like, I'm gonna be optimistic because I don't like
You're
just
like,
going in and like first page knowing who the love interest
see,
is.
I already knew that Macbeth was not good news.
I didn't
So
think so, but I was like, he's not doing anything wrong. He was being respectful. He was
that is
listening to
true.
her, and then he's like, "Let me just tighten this real quick."
I can't imagine the way that like the book would have gone. I feel like it would have been boring if he was a goodie.
No, for sure.
Because somebody has to take over the crown, or at least try to. I keep thinking about this book, so I might have to change my rating.
That's
But
what
I
I'm
did
saying. Like,
like I keep thinking
I gave it
about
a strong 4 star.
okay. Well, I gave it 3.5, and I'm not mad at that because I am not the type of person that thinks like 3.5 stars is a bad book.
See, I don't
I don't
recommend a
know.
book if it's under 4.
That's crazy.
I don't.
I would never recommend a 2 star, but I'm a DNFer. I rarely get to a 2 star read.
Yeah, no, me too.
I have self-respect.
But I usually like force myself to finish a 3 star.
Yeah, I didn't feel like I needed to force myself to read this, but the misses for me were big enough to not make it like.
I guess, yeah.
But I did like the story. I think it would make a very good like, um, spooky read for your fall. Like it keeps you in that like really dank, moldy room for way too long, and you're like, okay, I need to come
You were
up for
just
air and
saying
sunshine.
you were enjoying the gothic aspects of it.
I really loved it. I'm all things macabre, all things like, gothic, and it really scratched that itch so hard for me. And it also gave me elements of like Jane Eyre, which is also pretty gothic. And I don't know, yeah, I enjoyed it, but I think I'll keep it to the 3.5 because it won't be one of my favorite reads, and it wasn't my favorite read. I just did enjoy it, and I wouldn't like I don't regret reading it.
I would agree. But I think I enjoyed it a little bit more than you
Which
did.
I'm so surprised at.
Me too.
Because it's so niche, I think.
Chapter
I think
1.
a lot of Ava Reid's books are pretty niche and gothic.
Chapter 1, I was confused. I did not like the writing style. It's third person
I
present
loved it.
tense. I was like,
But then she has
okay.
like anything in italic is either something someone said in the past or something she believes them to have said in their head. So it's very interesting. Yeah.
But I got used to it pretty quickly. It wasn't a deal breaker.
Mm-hmm.
So,
it's definitely not written like anything else we have.
but it's
right
not
now.
Shakespeare.
But it's not Shakespeare. So it's like a little more lyric based, but it is it's still accessible for, I mean, especially
It's
for somebody
poetic
like
without being pretentious.
correct, as it should be. I mean, there's nothing pretentious about her. She's just like chaotic energy at all times. But then like quiet. She's silent but deadly is really what it is.
Yeah.
We like it. Little murder girl. That's what she is.
We love a feisty MC.
Heck yeah. That's all I got.
That's all I think I have. We didn't talk about Fleabag once.
Oh, Fleets.
Fleance.
Because I hated
Fleabag.
him. I hated him from the beginning. Also, I like how she said, never mind, this is not all we got.
we could put it
like
somewhere in the middle
said,
and post.
Yeah. I like how she said, no, I like it as a wrap up. I like how she said, I know all these names. I know, like, she's so clever, da 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 da. Then when she gets to the castle, she's like, I don't give a
I was
frick.
a little confused.
I don't give a frick about these people. I'm gonna call them by what they're wearing. Fox coat.
I was a little
skin.
confused.
Like, I don't know what they are because I didn't pay attention too much. But all I know is that, like, his henchies, she, instead of learning their names, she just describes them. And I love that she puts them down by doing that. Like, she's like, okay, the only person who matters in this court is Macbeth. That's all I'm gonna refer to. And then obviously, like, Fleance, that's all I'm gonna call him because that's what he should be called. He Fleance, he is just like a coward little boy, and she knows that she can get one up on him. So she does. And then he gets pissed about it, and she's like, okay, what are you gonna do?
I understood when they faked an ambush and wounded each other so that there was like some relevancy and they had a secret, like, so Lady Macbeth wanted a secret of his to like have in her back pocket against him. I understood that was fine. What I didn't really understand, it didn't feel as clever to me when she used it against him.
Yeah.
Because it really backfired on her, and I was like, why did we do this? Like, it didn't seem like it was going to do anything good for you. I didn't really understand.
That's where in that whole scene is, like, that whole entire chapter is where it, like, falls short.
It fell for you.
Yeah, because then it was like, okay, he was like, I can take a beating. She's like, no, you're a precious little baby boy. I gotta protect you. Here's my ass. How about you guys smack it a bunch? That was a lot. That was a lot. And then all of a sudden he like escapes. I did not understand why she decided, like, what she thought, because she's so clever, what she thought was gonna happen in that moment. Like, why she thought, and besides the fact that it leads for really great revenge at the end.
Yeah, it does.
That's fine.
It just felt out of character because she's so clever, and then she just kind of whipped out the secret,
just, like,
and it backfired. It did feel like it was a blurt out, and
which, I mean, she was backed into a corner, so I guess she was like literally, she had nowhere to go. I guess she wanted to, like, if she was gonna die there, which she kind of said, she was like, if this is how I die, whatever. If she's gonna die there, she might as well get it all out on the table. But yeah, it did backfire a lot on her. So,
my favorite interaction between the two of them. Lady Macbeth is visiting Fleabag in the dungeon. Mm-hmm. And gritting through his teeth, his retort is, I should have raped you. And her response was, you men have no imagination.
Yes.
Just like, eye roll, you're not original, come back later.
Please be more original, yeah. Come up with a better threat.
Because honestly, that's what I was thinking. It's like, wow, okay, good one.
Like, okay, great. Awesome. Your revenge is not swift.
Nope.
Stupid idiot. I do like how she like, I don't know. It was interesting because a lot of people say it's so misogynistic, but I was like, yeah, but she's literally a man hater. So it's
Yeah.
misandry and misogynistic at the same time. It can't be both. Like it's gotta be one or the other.
I would
And
say
it
the
ended up
world
being
is
misandry, so it's fine.
the world is misogynistic because it's historically based, but then she as a character is not.
Yep. And I like that. I like that a lot. But she uses it to her advantage, which is like that is like the ultimate revenge
Correct.
against like misogynists is like, okay, well, I'm gonna use it
Yep.
because what else do I have
Underestimate
to
the
do?
women.
Exactly. But yeah, that's all I have now. That's all I have. I'm no longer talking about fleets.
He was so relevant to the story, but also just
Just
hate
terrible.
him.
Hate him.
Out of mind.
Gross. I knew it from the second. I was like, "There's no way he's the love
When she
interest."
kept
I
saying
hate
he was
him.
like a little boy. Like,
I was like,
yep.
"You're so right." Aw, Daddy didn't take you on the trip.
Quiet about it.
That's literally how I feel
Or
about
stab
him.
yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Like and follow. Subscribe. I've never had to do this before.
See you next time.
See you next time. Bye.